What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So guys, in today's video, we're going to be talking about Galkut. Now, this champion is not necessarily new as far as being known to be a pretty hard-hitting champion, right? So there's been several videos done in the past about him, but with the new changes to Hex coming, basically champions under Hex debuff take 2% extra damage from allies' hits from AoE attacks, and then they take 10% extra damage from allies' hit with single target attacks. So Gaukut has a very interesting part of his kit on his A2 ability that attacks all enemies, but it's one by one in a random order, which means it's an AoE attack, but it works as a single target attack. So this makes a very, very interesting synergy with the new Hex changes, which this is all on the test server. So at the time of watching this video, you guys may not have access to this Hex change yet, but you should pretty soon. So attacks all enemies one by one in a random order. Damage inflicted decreases by 25% after each hit. Well, that's interesting because every time I read that before, I thought it said damage inflicted increases by 25% after each hit. So I'm not gonna lie, I thought this ability was a lot better than what it even reads out to be, but it still hits very, very hard. We can go over here to Hell Hades' website and see what his multipliers are. They're pretty crazy. Look at this. He has a 6.7 attack multiplier on that A2 ability. Granted, it does decrease each time he hits by 25%, but still, 6.7 multiplier, that's pretty significant. And his A3 is actually very nice as well. This actually gives somewhat of a potential, granted it's kind of a small potential, but to go against stone skin teams in the arena. So if you have Gaukut, and maybe you've been running against quite a few stone skin teams, now I'm definitely not saying this guy is going to work on top level of like Platinum Arena, because these bombs probably aren't going to hit hard enough, and he's probably not going to be strong enough to justify bringing into a top level team. But this bomb doing 300% extra damage against Stone Skin, right? I do believe, and Petrification, same thing if you're using Mithrala, this could be pretty nice. This bomb could definitely hit fairly hard, and this A3 ability actually does pack a punch. We got a 4 multiplier on that A3 ability. His base attack is okay, 1321. Compare it to a champion like Ruel, it's significantly lower. But let's see Ray. Ray's probably close to the same range, 1343. Granted, Ray's multipliers work a little bit differently, but he's a fairly low multiplier, but it's a fairly low base attack, but it's not the worst of any attack champion by no means. So his multipliers are all pretty solid. And then his A1 ability attacks one enemy 2 times, has a 25% chance of placing 60% decreased defense debuff for 2 turns. Not really worried about that. The main thing I want to showcase in this video is this ability, because with the changes of Hex, this basically gives him a 10% spread damage to all other enemies with Hex on them. So the champion you're hitting, they don't get that extra 10% of damage, but everybody else does. And the other champions, if they don't have Hex, they don't get the damage spread to them. So keep that in mind. The Masteries for this champion. So I just went the offense tree. You guys can see this right here. With these Masteries, go whatever you want, okay? Build the champion how you see best fit. I'm just trying to push out as much damage as I possibly can to showcase this to you guys. War Master does not seem to add extra damage on the other champions hit with the Hex. The War Master proc does add damage, but you can't get separate War Master procs as far as I'm aware. So it does add some damage, and you just get 10% of that extra damage spread to those other enemies if it does actually proc. So there we have Gaukut and the little showcase of his skills and everything. His books, you don't necessarily need them. You are going to get more damage from his A2 if you do decide to build him and book him out. It's definitely probably worth it. Doesn't require that many. I mean, it's epic books, so take that for what you may. You may have some more significant champions like Geomancer, like Stagnite. They're much more book intent, much more book valuable. Gaukut got some extra damage, got a cooldown reduction as well. So if you can, go for it. It's obviously going to increase his power, and he will be booked in this video. Of course, like I said, we're on the test server. We have 537,000 gems, and look how many books I have. I'm going to book all my champions, 1730 and 1545. Yeah, we definitely have to book some champions. We also have a decent amount of shards, which may be for a video coming soon. But let's jump in here, guys, to the Dragon. So I want to show a few things. First off, I want to show how hard he hits. I want to show the interaction with Hex, and then I want to show like his max potential. We're going to throw a bunch of different champions in there who boost his damage, give you some unrealistic numbers, but either way, it's going to be some interesting numbers nonetheless. So first off, just him by himself, just to see how much damage he does, okay? Obviously, it's going to be in 1x speed because it goes too fast in 2x. So let's go ahead and hit 38,000, 8,000. So obviously, when it scales down, when it's decreasing by 25% each time, it does quite a bit less damage, of course. So right here, let's go ahead and back out of this. We're not going to use the A3 ability. The A2 is the main thing I want to showcase. So 107,000 damage right there. We'll do it one more time just to get somewhat consistency. We do have Helm Smasher on him. So if it proxy ignore defense, it's going to hit harder. If it doesn't, we're going to get less damage, of course, right? So this one's 100,000, so pretty close to the same range. Now, let's back out of here. So we're going to use Ruel. So Ruel has an interesting ability. Well, he's the only Hex champion who places Hex but doesn't do any damage. So that's very interesting and very important to keep in mind when watching this. Also, he increases all the damage our enemies under Hex debuff receive by 10%, which is very significant as well. Man, it's amazing, right? It's absolutely amazing, especially when the Hex debuff is spreading damage from each champion. So this is going to be kind of difficult to watch because there's going to be a lot of numbers popping up. But pay attention to the fact that Ruel does no damage whatsoever right there. Galkut comes in with his AoE ability. I'm going to try to get a replay going for you guys. Let's see. So everybody had Hex. We see a lot of red numbers. Now, let's back out of here. This is kind of weird. It's interesting that they do this, but it makes it a little bit difficult at first to understand because I didn't know that the damage was being spread to Ruel. So the damage Gaukut did, his AoE damage, his attributed to himself. But the damage the champions with the Hex received, the spread damage, was attributed to Ruel. So now Gaukut essentially did 175,000 damage. So pretty significant boost. It's actually about a 40% boost in dungeons specifically. Because when you look at this, you have 5 champions total, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Since his A2 ability works as a single target attack, this champion right here, if he takes 50,000 damage, he's going to be spreading 5,000 damage to every other champion. So 4 other champions. Then this champion on the far left is going to take 50,000 damage. She's going to spread 5,000 damage to everybody else. Obviously, she doesn't spread it to herself, or she doesn't spread it to champions who don't have Hex on them either. So a little bit of comparison, I'm going to use the A3 ability, and you're going to see the difference in the damage being dealt to these champions, okay? And then we'll jump into some arena after we do a big damage showcase after that. So I'm going to go ahead and back out of here. It's not going to be anywhere near enough. Not going to be anywhere near comparable. Well, actually, it wasn't that bad. 128. But you can see Ruel did 10,000 damage, okay? So remember, Ruel, his damage is coming only from the Hex spread. So Gaukut did pretty significant damage, and 10,000 was attributed to Ruel. So let me clip this video real quick. We're going to try to do some Inception type stuff. Let me open this up on my PC and see if we can do a replay just now of what I just now did inside this recording. Here we go. Let me make sure myself's muted. This is, yeah, definitely some Inception. So we're going to fast forward to this. So right here, this is where we had the Hex debuff going on. And then we have Gaukut hitting with his A2 ability. So when we hit, we got to watch to see the red numbers. That's a very important part. If it was 2%, obviously 2% is going to be very easy to tell versus 10%. So I'm going to rewind it just a little bit. I got to see the first hit. It's easiest to see the first hit. So basically, when you're looking at this, each one of these red numbers are going to be 10% of one of the attacks you've dealt. So we have a 41,000 number there. We should have a 4,000. Okay, it's right there. We have a 36,000 over here hiding in the yellow. We should have a 36, 34 up there. So it's pretty clear to see that 10% of each one of these hits are being spread to the other allies, which is giving him a essentially 40% damage boost in PvE content. And then PvP content, since you have 4 enemies, it's going to work a little bit differently because of how it works whenever you kill an enemy. So even there, it's about 10% boost per champion, more or less. So it's about 30%, but not exactly. It works a little bit differently, like I mentioned. So let's go ahead and fast forward through this. Now I want to show you guys the difference. So here, Gaukut did 125,000, which is basically the same as what he did right here, 128,000. But you can see, obviously, the difference in the damage that Ruel actually spread to those hexes. Now, we're going to fast forward a little bit more. And either way, this is not necessarily just a showcase that, hey, Hex is amazing with Gaukut, which it definitely is. It definitely boosts his damage significantly. He has a very interesting synergy with that A2 ability, but also he hits like a truck. For an epic champion, he hits very daggone hard. We're going to fast forward this just a little bit more to see his A3 being used. You can see a pretty significant difference. Like the red numbers you see here are going to be much lower, okay? So we have 32,000 there. We have 469 damage, 598 damage, 470. So obviously this A3 ability is an AoE ability. It says it in the kit, perfectly understandable. It's an AoE ability. So it does much, much less damage. It's doing 2% to each one of these Hex champions. So AoE champions are going to get benefit definitely from the Hex buff, but it's not going to be as significant as a champion like Gaukut, or there's actually quite a few champions who are broken with Hex, which once again, I'm going to do a video about those very, very soon. But their kit reads one way, but it functions a different way, and it makes them hit significantly harder. So it's definitely very, very interesting how the Hex actually works. But Gaukut definitely hits very hard. Let me jump in the arena. Oh, actually, nope. I said we're going to show like a full showcase of his damage potential. So what we're going to do here is we're going to add Lydia for decreased defense and weaken. We're going to add Mithrala for increased attack, and we're going to add Archmage Helmet for his increased crit damage. So basically, Ruel's giving us 10% extra damage, Mithrala is giving us increased attack, Lydia decreased defense and weaken, Archmage is giving us increased crit damage. Technically, I can actually drop Ruel and bring in Bad El Khazar instead, because he's going to allow me to do 20% more damage. So it's actually going to boost us past what Ruel would have given. Plus, we already have Hex coming from Mithrala. So it doesn't matter where you get your Hex from, unless you use Mithrala and she petrifies the enemy. If she petrifies the enemy, you're going to do your spread damage, but it's going to be reduced by 60%. So it's definitely not ideal. Definitely not an ideal situation whatsoever. So we have Gaukut in the front. I'll do the replay of this video as well. We're going to have double Inception in the same video. Crazy, crazy next level stuff, I know. All right, so here, A2 once more. Let's see what he does. Hopefully deletes everybody. Boom. Go ahead and back out of this. So now, all this damage should be attributed to Mithrala. Now, granted, she does hit. So I don't know how much damage she actually did, but since she does do damage, it is going to change things just a little bit. So I'm going to hide my webcam, 540,000. Let me go ahead and open up the Inception stuff right now. We're going to close the previous video, and we'll open up this one right here. So, let's see. Okay, apparently it didn't work. I'm still an amateur at this, apparently. All right, here. Let's turn myself off in the background. All right, here we go. So, we got that going on. We got him doing his A2, and boom. We're hitting for, pay attention to these small numbers. Kind of difficult to see them, like I mentioned sometimes. But Mithrala, okay, so 107,000 damage, 19,000 is spread. So I guess somebody was hit for like, is it 19,000? Did he actually, okay, so 10,000, I see a 12,000. So one of these hits over here was 120,000. So 12,000, that is some significant damage boost. I mean, you can literally see it from Mithrala. She didn't hit that hard on her A2 ability. Actually, for curiosity's sake, we can jump back and test it out, see what she hit for. But he basically hit for 700,000 damage. That's a pretty hard hit. Now, granted, this is not realistic whatsoever, but we're just trying to push out some numbers to see what we can get from this champion. It's an AoE ability, okay? We're going to replay this just to get an idea. What does Mithrala actually hit for? Let me turn my webcam back on, and that's going to be the last time of that Inception stuff anyway. So, do the same exact buffs as before. Give everybody increased crit damage, AoE, decrease attack, decrease defense, and weaken. Now, granted, I didn't pay attention to if everybody had decreased defense and weaken. Hopefully they did. But her A2 ability by itself, not that bad. Not that bad at all. Let's go ahead and wait a second. It does get some damage spread as well. So she hit for 60,000. So earlier she hit for what? 260,000, something like that. So this one's the wrong video. This one is correct, I do believe. So we backed out of that. So she hit for 270. So basically it added a easy 200,000 damage. So yeah, about 700 and almost 50,000 damage to Galkut. Pretty crazy with the Hex buff, because his A2 is so interesting in the fact that it targets each individual person one by one. Let's jump into the arena, do a few matches. Now, it's going to be a little difficult to showcase in the arena because we are on the test server, so the defenses are pretty select as far as which ones we can fight. So I'm going to give you guys an example of some teams that I've been using, just trying out, just testing, just playing around with. You know, these aren't necessarily the best teams by no means, but he melts people. Not going to lie, he actually does melt some teams. So we're going to use Siphi just to ignore this Torment more or less. We're going to use Ruel because we need the Hex. He's a very easy champion to place the Hex with. Strip everybody, and let's see what kind of work Galkut can do. Now, I don't actually know, and if you guys do find out, let me know. If I select, say, Duchess, does that mean she's guaranteed to get the first hit? Because ideally, she would get the first hit, because each hit after that reduces the damage by 25%. But I don't know if that's the case or not. I need to actually pay attention. I bet you I could figure it out. So aim at Duchess. Okay, so I don't think she actually got the first hit, but we got reaction procs there, so the damage was reduced because reaction makes it very difficult. If we had a Kymar, we could run our Gaukut pretty slow, might be a lot better, but since we don't have Kymar, well, we're not going to use Kymar right now. We can't run him that slow, so we got to be very mindful about his actual speeds, but we'll go ahead and back out of this just to see his damage. Let's see, 123,000, and Ruel did 38,000. So one thing that's interesting with the PvP concept is that if you have a champion, actually, I'll give you the best comparison in campaign. And this is going to make the arena damage look a lot different than what it actually is. Ray is a perfect example of this. So sorry if you guys hear the rumbling in the background. My son's playing with his car. But with Ray, we have two champions, level 1, okay? We're going to use the A2 ability. Absolutely obliterates them. 130,000 damage, basically 200,000 damage. We back out, and it only shows we dealt 2,415 damage. What this means is that in PvP, If a champion had 100,000 HP, or if they had, say, 50,000 HP, but we hit them for 100,000 damage, it's going to only show that we did 50,000 damage because it's all the HP they actually have. So it's something definitely to keep in mind that even though Gaukut showed what was like 150,000 damage, he absolutely obliterated those champions. So some of the champions just overkill, some of them reactions save their lives. So definitely something to keep in mind. Let me go to find some. This one I think was a team that he worked okay against. Also, we don't have increased attack. Let me actually put my Duchess in here. That's going to make a big difference because we don't need Siphi necessarily. Hopefully we're fast enough. Hopefully we're speed tuned. But Duchess will give me increased attack. Should give me the block debuffs to ignore the Torments, which should be nice. So increase attack. Veil, we're going to increase all the accuracy so Madam can hopefully strip everybody. And then we're going to turn it into one-time speed to slow this down just a little bit. Okay, let's see. Let's see how this works now. Oh, wait, where's my Hex? Oh, no, there's no Hex. Dang it. That sucks. All right, let's just see what kind of damage he does with no Hex. Okay, so he still erases people. Definitely erases people. So even without Hex, not the end of the world. You could definitely do some work without having Hex up. Unfortunately, we didn't have Hex there, which is the whole reason Ruel's in the team. So obviously, you want to make sure if you're doing this, I mean, he does some good damage. 200, let me get my webcam out of the way. I'm just blocking my own video. 294,000 damage. That's significant. That is some hard-hitting abilities. And if he had Hex, it would have been 294 plus quite a bit more. About, well, not quite 30%. Because of how the champions work when they die, it would have been a good chunk more damage, though. Definitely. So let's go back in here. We'll try one more match. This video is getting a little bit longer than I was hoping it to be, but we'll try it against, let's see. I got to be careful because a lot of these teams I know have Stone Skin. I've been doing a lot of test server tests, so I kind of know what a lot of these teams have. That's just within the last 24 hours, I guess. So let's jump in here and do two more tests. We're going to do a test against Layla's team real quick, and then we'll do another test, one more test to see how it works, see what kind of damage he can actually put out. So do the increased attack, same thing with Duchess. Hopefully with the speed tune being fixed now, everything looks better. So we strip everybody. Unfortunately, we got increased defense up. That's not great. We do have Hex up. We do have Hex, which is very, very important. And then we're going to hit with the A2 ability from Galkut. Let's see what he does. Hopefully no reaction happens, but it probably will. Okay, boom. Pretty significant. Ursuga takes a lot of that damage, but let's go ahead and back out and see how his damage actually looks. So let me hide my webcam once more. 162,000 and 46,000 attributed to Ruel, which means Ruel, the Hex damage alone was 46,000 damage, which is pretty nice. And he did 162,000 by himself. Now, these teams are built to be pretty tanky. We have Ursuga, soaking damage. We have Krisk, well, decreasing attack whenever we attack him, which granted, we do have block debuff, so it shouldn't really matter, but he's going to soak more damage. Siphi's always just tanky. And then Death Knight absolutely holding it down over there. And then let's go down here to the last team. We'll test this one because we already did the one at the very bottom of the list. We'll go against Nubs' team. Let's go ahead and jump in here and see how the Walking Tomb Dring can hold up against Gaukut, the buffed version of Gaukut. Hopefully we can strip this Mithrala. Mithrala in the Strengthen is very, very difficult to go around. All right, we almost got deleted there. Almost got just absolutely deleted. Let's see. Dring, I wish his Reflect worked correctly, but it doesn't. There's a little bit of issues with it. So let's go ahead and see what Gaukut does. We have increased attack, Hex on everybody, decreased defense as well. Let's see if he deletes them. I don't really know who I should target here. Let's target Dring. Boom. Deleted. Everybody except for Mithrala, as to be expected. Literally everybody else melted. Mithrala still standing strong. But that's quite a bit of damage. Let's go ahead and watch the replay, guys. I'm loving this video inception stuff. Let me go ahead and pull this up. Video inception to see what kind of damage was actually dealt here. Instant replay while doing my video. Boom. Next level content, I know. All right, so he hit for 180,000 damage, and then boom, you have, let's see where everything's changed to, because that should just be pure damage. It shouldn't be mitigated by anything whatsoever. We have 988,829. So we should, I don't know why all these yellow numbers are down there. Ally protection boosts, that's weird. I don't really know what's going on right there, to be honest. I don't know why we're not seeing more red numbers. Maybe the initial hits from Gaukut killed everybody, so the red numbers were just basically useless, irrelevant. So Gaukut did 211,000 damage. Ruel did 45,000. So 45,000 was attributed to Ruel. So honestly, the Hex there wasn't even doing that much for Gaukut as far as damage being boosted. He just straight destroyed everybody. Like, he just does a lot of damage by himself. So we did have some benefit from Hex, but really not significant. I mean, 180,000 damage is just going to kill everybody. If we would have been able to get the Hex on Mithrala, it may have been able to kill her. because we would have had 18,000 damage plus 11,000 damage plus maybe 1,000 damage over there. I can't really tell what that number is. But either way, you guys can see it. You guys can do the math. You guys can add it up. That's going to be a pretty significant difference. But either way, Gaukut, definitely a viable champion. And if you build him with enough attack, he could actually be a solid counter for mid-tier, maybe even, well, gold 5. I mean, gold 5 is pretty easy right now, but some answer to some stone skin champions. He's a champion you can bring in. If you're tired of facing stone skin teams and you need a champion to counter them, bring him in. He can do some decent bomb damage, I'm sure. Just out of curiosity's sake, let's see if we can jump into Dragon Stage 20, or maybe the whatever is a decent affinity for this. We'll do Stage 21, just out of curiosity's sake, and I'll do some increased attack and some bomb damage. Let's see what his bombs explode for. They may actually be pretty small, but we'll find out. So we'll increase attack, put him in a veil just so he doesn't die, place bombs on everybody. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 bombs. Okay, let's see what he does. The bomb damage doesn't get spread with Hex, so it's not going to matter whatsoever. Bomb damage, I wish it was spread with Hex, but unfortunately it's not. So we should be able to see in just a second when Sorceress gets a turn, what her damage is going to be taken. So it's going to be red damage coming up from Sorceress in just a few seconds. We'll turn it to 1x speed right now. Boom, 31,000 damage. That's not bad. And if you're doing 300%, that's going to be a pretty significant hit, because like I believe Stone Skin does deal an extra 300% damage whenever you have bombs placed, and it's the only debuff you can place that I'm aware of through Stone Skin. So definitely a decent option. 31,000 there, 31,000. It ignores defense and everything. And I haven't pushed his attack up super high. So obviously I would need to rebuild Galkut in a lot of ways, because his attack isn't like crazy high. It's not bad, but I push crit damage as well. So, and he's in Savage. He's in Savage gear with some crit damage, okay speed. So you could definitely push this number up quite a bit higher. His HP is super, super low. His accuracy, not even there. So if you wanted to build him for a bomber as well, you would definitely need to push up his accuracy, you need to push up his attack, and you could get some pretty hard-hitting bombs. But like I said, if he's just a Stone Skin counter, you don't need to push up that much attack, because the set already takes more bomb damage anyways. I don't know if it actually says in the set description or not. Stone Skin gives a buff. Let's go in the, actually, no. This video is too long as it is, guys. We're not going to get into the details of Stone Skin, but I want to say thank you all very much for watching the video. If you all enjoyed this video, definitely leave a like down below. Drop a sub to the channel. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Let me know if there's any other champions you want me to test out, and I will catch you in the next video.